Ladies and gentlemen, fear. It's something we've all felt. Whether it's fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of uncertainty, or even fear of simply being ourselves, fear can paralyze the strongest of us and make the bravest hearts tremble. But here's the truth. Fear is not a sign of weakness. It is an invitation to rise, to trust, and to grow. And the greatest weapon we have to face fear is faith. Faith is not the absence of fear. Faith is the courage to move forward in spite of it. It's choosing to trust the process, to trust ourselves, and to trust that what lies ahead is bigger and more beautiful than what fear tries to tell us. Today, let's explore 5 powerful truths that can help us overcome anxiety and doubt with unshakable faith. Number 1, acknowledge your fear. Don't run from it. Fear is a natural part of being human. It visits us in many forms, sometimes loud and paralyzing, other times subtle and lingering. We often treat fear as something to avoid, something that must be silenced or hidden. We pretend we're fine when we're not. We bury our fears under busyness, distractions, or false confidence. But the truth is, running from fear never makes it disappear. It only allows it to grow in the shadows. The real path to peace, to growth, to strength begins when we turn around and face it. When we stop running and instead begin to acknowledge what we're feeling. Acknowledging fear doesn't mean we're weak. It means we're honest, and honesty is a form of strength. It takes courage to say, "Yes, I'm afraid." It takes strength to admit, "I don't have all the answers." And it takes maturity to recognize that fear itself is not the enemy. The real enemy is letting fear make decisions for us. Fear only has the power we give it in silence. The moment we name it, we take the first step toward breaking its grip on our lives. Fear thrives in secrecy. It multiplies in the quiet moments when we don't give ourselves permission to feel. But when we speak our fears, whether through journaling, prayer, conversation, or self-reflection, we disarm them. We bring them into the light where they lose their mystery and power. Sometimes just saying out loud, "I'm afraid I'm not good enough," or "I'm scared I'll fail," brings incredible relief. It doesn't fix everything, but it starts the process. Because fear left unspoken becomes shame, but fear spoken becomes manageable. We can only heal and grow from what we're willing to face. Facing fear doesn't mean we'll never feel anxious again. It means we no longer let anxiety define our worth or our path. Life will always offer opportunities to be afraid, whether it's the fear of rejection, the fear of the unknown, or the fear of change. But if we build a habit of acknowledging our fears rather than denying them, we develop resilience. We begin to see that fear is not a wall, it's a signal. It's a sign that something matters. It's pointing to a part of our heart that needs compassion, attention, and understanding. Many of us were taught to hide fear, to be strong, to push through, to get over it. But true strength isn't the absence of fear. It's the willingness to face it with grace. It's standing still in the presence of fear and saying, "I see you, but you do not control me." When we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, when we acknowledge what's going on inside, we create space for healing. We allow our nervous system to regulate. We allow our mind to sort through the confusion, and we allow our hearts to remember that they are safe, even in uncertainty. It's okay to be afraid. It's okay to feel overwhelmed. What matters is what you do with those feelings. Do you bury them until they boil over? Or do you gently face them? Ask what they're trying to teach you, and choose a path forward that honors both your fear and your faith. Fear is often trying to protect us. It shows up because we care, because we want to do well, because we don't want to be hurt. When we acknowledge it, we can thank it for trying to help, and then decide for ourselves what's true and what's not. The moment we stop running from fear is the moment we start reclaiming our power. We start moving from survival to intention. We begin to realize that fear, when acknowledged and understood, can become fuel for transformation. It can lead us to deeper awareness, more compassion, and stronger choices, but only if we choose to face it with honesty and courage. A life without fear is not possible, but a life where fear doesn't control us, that is entirely within reach. It starts with a decision to be present with our emotions, a decision to say, I will no longer pretend I'm fine when I'm not. A decision to stop hiding and start healing. And most of all, a decision to believe that even in our most fearful moments, we are still whole, still worthy, and still capable of rising. So don't run from your fear. Turn toward it. Look it in the eye and listen to what it has to say. Not because it's always right, but because understanding it will make you stronger. Let it teach you, guide you, and ultimately, let it show you just how much strength and faith already live inside you. When you choose to acknowledge your fear, you choose to step into your power, and that choice changes everything. Number 2. Choose faith over feelings. Feelings are powerful. They have the ability to lift us high or drag us deep into the shadows. They can be beautiful, joyful, and life-giving, but they can also be misleading, unstable, and overwhelming. That's the nature of emotions. They change. What we feel in one moment might not be how we feel the next. This is why building our life on feelings alone can be dangerous. When we allow our emotions to be the foundation of our decisions, our identity, or our direction, we become like a ship tossed around by waves. But when we choose faith, steady, grounded, and anchored, we find peace even in the storm. Choosing faith over feelings doesn't mean ignoring your emotions or pretending they don't exist. It means recognizing that while your feelings are real, they aren't always reliable. Faith, on the other hand, is a choice. It's a decision to believe in something greater than the emotion of the moment. It's trusting the process when the outcome is unclear. It's holding onto hope when fear screams louder. It's believing in your worth when your feelings tell you otherwise. Faith doesn't erase feelings, it leads them. So often, anxiety and doubt come when we're overwhelmed by what we feel. We feel uncertain, so we assume the future is hopeless. We feel afraid, so we believe we're not capable. We feel alone, so we conclude that we are unloved. These emotions can be intense, but they don't define the truth. Choosing faith is choosing to say, even though I feel this way, I will not let it decide who I am or what I do. Faith is quiet strength. It's the whisper that says, keep going, when everything in you wants to give up. It's the steady hand that holds you when your emotions try to shake your foundation. It's the light in the dark, the voice of reason when your thoughts are tangled in fear. And most importantly, it's the reminder that you are not your emotions. You are not the fear, the doubt, or the sadness. You are the person who can walk through those things and still stand tall. There will be days when your feelings are loud, when discouragement feels louder than truth, and when self-doubt wants to write your story. But that's when faith must rise. Faith is not a feeling. It's a mindset. It's choosing to see beyond the moment, to believe in what can't yet be seen, to trust that healing, peace, and clarity are still possible. Even when nothing around you seems to change, choosing faith changes you. It builds resilience, focus, and clarity. Sometimes faith is simply showing up. It's getting out of bed when you feel like hiding. It's taking that step forward even when the path looks uncertain. It's saying yes to something new, even with fear in your chest. These small, quiet decisions are acts of faith, and over time they add up to transformation. When we act in faith rather than being ruled by feelings, we begin to create a life that is purpose-driven rather than fear-driven. This doesn't mean the emotions go away. It means they no longer hold the same power. You can feel anxious and still choose faith. You can feel overwhelmed and still take action. You can feel discouraged and still speak life. That's the beauty of faith. It's not a denial of what you feel, but a declaration of what you believe. In choosing faith, you give yourself the freedom to grow. You allow room for something greater than momentary emotions to shape your path. You begin to make decisions rooted in purpose, not panic. You speak from truth, not tension. You respond with intention, not impulse. And in that process, you begin to find peace, not because life becomes easier, but because you become stronger. There is power in pausing and asking yourself, what is true beyond what I feel right now? This simple question can shift your perspective, calm your mind, and recenter your heart. It's a reminder that emotions are valid, but they are not always accurate guides. Faith keeps us grounded when feelings try to pull us in 100 directions. So when the fear rises, choose faith. When insecurity creeps in, choose faith. When sadness clouds your vision, choose faith. When the noise of your thoughts grows too loud, choose faith. It's not about being perfect or never struggling. It's about showing up with belief. Belief that this moment does not define you, that you are capable of more than you feel, and that the path ahead still holds light. Choosing faith over feelings is a daily decision. Some days it comes easily. Other days it feels like the hardest thing in the world. But every time you choose it, you are building something unshakable inside you. Something that feelings can't take away. Something that grows stronger with every storm you survive. That something is your inner strength, your resilience, and your unbreakable faith. Number 3. Replace fearful thoughts with empowering truths. Our minds are powerful, so powerful, in fact, that a single thought can change how we feel, what we believe, and how we act. When fear creeps in, it often starts in the form of a thought. A whisper in the mind saying, "You're not good enough, you're going to fail, or you can't handle this." These fearful thoughts may seem small at first, but if left unchallenged, they can grow louder, take root, and begin to shape the way we see ourselves and the world around us. That's why it's essential not just to notice these thoughts, but to replace them with empowering truths that lift us, ground us, and lead us forward. Fearful thoughts are often based on assumptions, not facts. They stem from past wounds, uncertainty about the future, or negative experiences that we've internalized as truth. But just because a thought comes to mind doesn't make it true. Our brains are wired for survival, and sometimes that means our thoughts focus on danger, risk, or worst-case scenarios. While that can help protect us in some situations, it can also hold us back from growing, loving, and taking healthy risks. We can't always control which thoughts come to us, but we can absolutely decide which ones get to stay. The first step in replacing fearful thoughts is awareness. Most of us have lived so long with fear-based thinking that we don't even recognize it. We assume the worst about ourselves or our situations because that pattern feels familiar. But when we slow down and really listen to our internal dialogue, we begin to notice how much of it is rooted in fear, self-doubt, or limitation. When you catch yourself thinking, "I can't do this," pause and ask, is that true, or is it fear speaking? This awareness creates the space for change. Once you've identified the fearful thought, challenge it. Ask yourself, where did this come from? Is it based on truth or just emotion? What evidence do I have for and against it? Most of the time, you'll find that the fear is inflated, exaggerated, or outdated. It may be connected to something that happened years ago or a belief that no longer serves you. And in that moment of recognition, you reclaim your power. You stop letting old fears dictate your future. Now comes the most important part, replacing that fear with an empowering truth. This is not about ignoring the situation or pretending everything is perfect. It's about choosing to speak a truth that uplifts you, reminds you of your strength, and points you in the direction of growth. If the fear says you always mess things up, replace it with, "I've learned from my past and I'm getting stronger every day." If the fear says you're not as good as them, replace it with, "I have my own path and unique gifts to offer." These truths don't need to be loud or dramatic. They just need to be real and rooted in belief. Empowering truths are grounded in who you are, not who your fear says you are. They remind you of your resilience, your growth, and your capacity to rise again and again. Every time you choose to replace a negative thought with a positive truth, you are rewiring your mind. You are building new neural pathways that support confidence, peace, and clarity. And over time, this shift in thinking becomes your new normal. This practice is not about toxic positivity or pretending hard things aren't hard. It's about giving yourself a mental framework that supports your healing, your progress, and your inner strength. Life will bring challenges. There will be moments of doubt and fear. But if your mind is trained to meet those moments with truth instead of panic, you will walk through them differently. You will face them with more grace, more wisdom, and more power. There's also deep healing in speaking these empowering truths out loud, whether it's through affirmations, journaling, or simply catching yourself mid-thought and rephrasing it. Speaking truth helps anchor it in your mind and heart. Words have energy. The more you speak life over yourself, the more you believe it. And the more you believe it, the more your actions begin to align with that belief. Replacing fear with truth is a daily practice. Some days it will come easily. Other days the fear may feel stronger. But with every effort, you are changing the way you show up for yourself, for your dreams, and for the people around you. You become someone who doesn't just survive the storm but grows through it. Someone who doesn't let fear have the final word. The most empowering truth of all is this: you are not your fear, you are not your thoughts. You are the awareness behind them, the soul that sees beyond them, and the heart that chooses truth even when it's hard. So the next time fear speaks, listen. But don't stay there. Meet it with grace, meet it with courage, and then replace it with the truth that reminds you just how capable, worthy, and powerful you really are. Number 4, take action, even when it's scary. There comes a moment in every journey where thinking is no longer enough, where reflection, planning, and hoping must give way to movement. That moment is the one where courage is tested most deeply, because action requires vulnerability. It means stepping out of the comfort zone, exposing yourself to uncertainty, and choosing to move even when fear is still whispering in your ear. Taking action, especially when it's scary, is not about the absence of fear. It's about deciding that your dreams, growth, and purpose are more important than the discomfort of the unknown. Fear often tells us to wait. Wait until you feel more confident. Wait until you have every detail figured out. Wait until the fear goes away. But if you always wait for fear to disappear, you might be waiting your whole life. The truth is, clarity comes from action, not the other way around. You don't become brave by avoiding what scares you. You become brave by facing it and moving forward anyway. Every bold step you take in fear's presence is a declaration that fear will not make the final decision. The irony is that fear is often the strongest right before a breakthrough. Just before you speak your truth, take a risk, or go after something meaningful, that's when fear will try its hardest to stop you. That's when the excuses show up. What if I fail? What if I look foolish? What if this isn't the right time? But what if it's exactly the right time? What if the fear is not a sign to stop, but a signal that you're on the edge of something powerful? Taking action when it's scary doesn't require giant leaps. Sometimes it's the smallest steps that build the greatest momentum. It could be making that phone call you've been avoiding, sending that message, signing up for the opportunity, speaking up in the room, or setting a boundary. These moments may seem small, but they are revolutionary. Each one chips away at fear's grip. Each one reinforces the belief that you can trust yourself, even when you're unsure. There's strength in doing it afraid. There's power in saying, I don't know what will happen, but I will show up anyway. Because every time you do something that scares you, you grow. You expand your comfort zone. You learn more about your resilience. You begin to rewire your brain to see action not as danger, but as possibility. And with every action, confidence is built, not from the outcome, but from the courage it took to try. Taking action also changes your relationship with failure. When you stop seeing failure as something to fear and start seeing it as part of the process, fear loses some of its power. Failure becomes feedback. Mistakes become lessons, and instead of fearing the fall, you begin to trust in your ability to rise. What matters isn't getting everything right. What matters is that you keep moving forward. You can refine, adjust, and grow, but only after you begin. Sometimes the scariest actions are the most necessary: letting go of something familiar, starting something completely new, saying yes when everything inside you wants to stay safe, saying no when you've spent your whole life being agreeable. These are the moments that stretch us, and though they may feel terrifying in the moment, they are also the moments that free us. Action is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. Without it, dreams stay dreams and potential stays untapped. What you have to remember is that fear doesn't mean stop. It means pay attention. It means this matters, but you don't need to wait for perfection. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to begin. Begin where you are. Begin with what you know. Begin with what you have. Action leads to clarity. Action leads to strength. Action leads to change. There will be voices, both internal and external, that try to hold you back, but you get to choose who you listen to. You get to decide whether you will live in the shadow of fear or in the light of courage. You are capable of far more than you give yourself credit for, and the only way to prove that to yourself is by doing the thing you think you can't. So take the leap, even if your hands are shaking, even if your voice trembles, even if your heart races. Let the fear ride in the backseat, but don't let it take the wheel. You are in control of your story, and every brave action you take writes a new chapter, one that says, I chose courage, I chose growth, I chose to move even when it was scary. The life you want won't always feel comfortable, but it will be worth it. And it starts with one bold step. Just one. That's all it takes to change everything. Number 5. Remember you're not alone. In life's hardest moments, it's easy to feel isolated. When anxiety takes over, when fear tightens its grip, when doubt creeps into your heart, you might start to believe that no one else understands, that you're the only one carrying this weight, that you're somehow weak for struggling or flawed for not having it all together. But the truth is, you are not alone, not in your fears, not in your pain, not in your questions. Whatever you're facing, there are others who have walked through it, who are walking through it now, and who will walk beside you if you let them. It's human nature to withdraw when we're overwhelmed. We think we need to be strong on our own. We believe asking for help is a sign of weakness. We tell ourselves that others won't understand or that our problems are too much of a burden. But these are lies. Fear tells us to keep us in the dark. Isolation only feeds anxiety. It keeps us trapped in our thoughts and disconnected from the truth that healing often happens in connection. We were never meant to carry our struggles in silence. When you open up even just a little, you create space for support to enter. You allow someone else to say, me too, or I've been there, or simply, I'm here for you. And sometimes that's all you need to feel a bit of light again. You don't need someone to fix everything for you. You just need someone to sit with you in the storm, to remind you that your emotions don't make you broken, that your fears don't make you less than, and that you don't have to face the battle by yourself. Connection is one of the most powerful antidotes to fear and doubt. When you allow yourself to be seen, truly seen, you invite healing. You learn that you're not the only one who struggles with self-doubt or feels lost sometimes. You realize that being human means having ups and downs, good days and bad ones. And in that realization, the weight begins to lift. You stop feeling like you have to pretend. You stop feeling like you have to be perfect. You begin to feel like maybe, just maybe, you're okay, right here, right now, just as you are. Support comes in many forms. It might be a close friend who listens without judgment, a family member who checks in when you go quiet, a mentor who encourages you to keep going, a community that reminds you that you belong, or sometimes it's a stranger's story that resonates with your own and makes you feel less invisible. The point is, help is out there, but you have to be willing to reach for it. You have to believe that you are worthy of it. So many people are quietly fighting battles behind smiles. They look composed on the outside, but are wrestling with fears you'll never see. That's why compassion matters, both toward others and toward yourself. When you remember that you're not the only one struggling, you stop judging yourself so harshly. You become gentler with your process. You start to recognize that healing isn't a straight line and that strength isn't about doing it alone. It's about continuing to show up even when it's hard. There's a quiet kind of bravery in saying, I need help. There's courage in being vulnerable. And there's deep wisdom in knowing that life isn't meant to be navigated solo. Even in moments of solitude, you are surrounded by love, by support, by unseen strength. Sometimes it comes through people. Sometimes through faith. Sometimes through nature, art, or the simple reminder that someone, somewhere understands. You were not created to suffer in silence. You were made to give and receive love. To lean on others and let them lean on you, to grow stronger through connection. When you remember you're not alone, you begin to shift from surviving to healing. You allow the burden to be shared, and in doing so, you give yourself space to breathe again. So when the fear becomes loud, when anxiety tightens around you, when you feel like giving up, reach out, speak up, let someone in. You don't have to explain everything. You don't have to have the perfect words. You just have to be willing to say, "I'm struggling." That one sentence can be the doorway to relief, to perspective, to hope. Even if it feels like no one sees you, you are seen. Even if you feel misunderstood, there are people who want to understand. Even if you feel like you're drowning, someone is ready to throw you a lifeline. Don't let fear convince you that you're alone. You are not, and you never have been. In the middle of your hardest moments, connection can be the light that guides you through. Let yourself be loved. Let yourself be supported. Let yourself remember that you were never meant to face this life by yourself. The journey is tough, yes, but you don't have to walk it alone. Fear may knock, but faith answers. And when faith answers, fear has no choice but to leave. So, today, choose faith. Choose it in the silence. Choose it in the storm. Choose it when your hands are trembling and your heart is racing. Because every time you choose faith, you are telling the world, and yourself, that you are not defined by fear. You are defined by courage, by truth, and by the fire inside you that refuses to be extinguished. You are stronger than your fear, and your faith will take you where fear never could. God bless you.